Hurricanes, wildfires, tornadoes, riots, power problems, and even internet problems are all examples of serious disasters that can cause your business downtime or worse. Even an air conditioning or heating problem can actually cause your business to be down, and people not to be able to come to work. I mean, who wants to work in a 95-degree office or a 40-degree office? In the wintertime, 40 degrees, 90 degrees in the summertime. Nobody does, right? Well, maybe some people, but since September is National Preparedness Month, we on the Reboot decided that we would do our part to help the cause and give you some tips to help you stay in business when surprises strike. Okay, and so before we get to that, though, welcome to the Reboot. I am Jim Gast, and me and the Reboot crew, abbreviated Reboot crew, today are here to help you evaluate business decisions that affect the areas of technology, cybersecurity, human resource, productivity, marketing, sales, so on and so forth. I mean, we're all business owners here. We all go through it and we all work with business owners. So we have a lot of experience and knowledge to help you make better decisions. But joining me today on the show, I've got
Brian Bracci with B&L PC Solutions on Long Island in New York.
Vinny, you're muted, buddy.
Sorry about that. Vinny Del Val from SpliceNet in Cincinnati, Ohio.
This is Vinny's first time on the Reboot. Vinny, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Real quick, we are going to a weekly format now. We'll stick to the same time, 1:30 Eastern time on Wednesdays. But you can, and will be soon published on our podcast. Will be published on Pandora, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and so on and so forth. All the popular podcast platforms. Plus, we've got our YouTube channel, and we'll also have a LinkedIn page where you can follow us as well. So, by all means, plug in every week. So, you know what, guys? September is National Preparedness Month, right? I think it used to be called National Disaster Preparedness Month. And they dropped the disaster because, well, we don't want to be prepared for just disasters. We should be prepared in general. And it sounds better. Okay.
Still hard to say, though.
Oh, it really is,
You got to work on that.
That's a lot of syllables, preparedness. But so, we're tech guys, right? We've managed service providers and IT companies and consultants for years. And we all consult on technology and cybersecurity. I didn't want to stick to just that today, which we don't. We're going to go into a couple more things. But the first thing, we were kind of brainstorming and came up with a few things. And Vinny, I love the one you came up with first. You want to talk about the plan. Muted again.
I'll unmute again. Yes, we definitely this. I think this is a hugely important thing. If you don't have the plan ahead of time, right, then you're going to be scrambling to try and put something together when it happens. And the plan, all the other stuff that you guys are going to talk about and that we're going to bring in this show, really comes together with the plan. Simple things like how are we going to communicate if a disaster happens, if our systems are down, if the phones are down, whatever it is, how are we going to communicate? That kind of stuff needs to be in the plan. But not only, should you have a plan, right? You should also be testing that plan. You should also be doing what I call the fire drills to make sure that plan, the people who are responsible for knowing it know what they need to do, what their part is, and how they do it. And then also that it's fresher in their mind. Because to be honest, you plan and you prepare for this, but it doesn't happen every day. It doesn't even happen on a regular basis, right? You're preparing for the event that may or may not come. So having it fresh in your mind. Brian, you were telling us a little bit about your process
Yeah. So, I
Before the
mean,
show. You want to tell us some more?
yeah, right along the lines of what you're saying. I mean, having the plan is great. It's like saying I have something, and we know what to do. But what we like to do is twice a year actually go out and execute that plan and see how well things are working, because we all know that technology changes. Maybe there's changes to the infrastructure throughout the year that need to be added to that plan, and simply could be forgotten to be added. Or, oh yeah, you know what, we do this now, we don't have to do this, and make that change. And it's good to discover that you need to make these changes while you're in a testing phase, rather than uh, going live with it and trying to ad hoc and circumvent some things that could have been prevented. But so having a plan, testing it twice a year, accountability, put it on, the clients need to go and test it and check off and sign off on it. This works, and this works, while we simulate. It could be a site failure, site disaster, whatever it is. Make sure the lines of communication all work. The data recoveries, files that you worked on earlier today, can you show us those, and do they know how to do that? And then signing it off and keeping that documentation. So, and that helps everybody, because these insurance companies now, they're looking at, what's your cybersecurity policy? What's your incident response plan? How often do you test it? Well, here you go. Here's what we do once, twice a year, and we get it signed off on. So, doing your diligence and getting that stuff done is great. But again, active testing is crucial.
I also thought on that particular topic is that so we do the plan, right, and test the plan, and so that'll keep it fresh in our minds. But what about the new people that we're hiring in? And as we're growing or replacing people, they need to know about the plan. Okay.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, I really believe that the plan should be in paper form and electronic form, and should exist at everyone's house as well as the office. Now, not all parts of it have to be, um, like what do we do if we've had a cyber attack? Well, that doesn't have to happen, be at somebody's house. But what do we do if we're closed because of a snow emergency, or civil unrest or something like that? Everybody should have something at their house. They go to them and say, "Oh, that's what we do," right? And they shouldn't have to guess, especially the new people,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
definitely don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Even things at home, I'm the guy that has 4 20-pound propane tanks that are all empty. We plan for backup, but you don't execute. You don't have it in place. It's useless at that point.
Mine are empty because I grilled too much.
Yeah, I think education of that plan is key, even for folks who have been with the company for a long time. And that's why the fire drills or the regular testing of that, of those plans is important. But also, making sure that folks review it on a regular basis as well. And don't leave it to chance. Put it on the calendar, schedule it, make sure that people are actually doing it. There are tools that you can do that with. And so keeping track of that and making sure that plan is there, written, and reviewed and tested.
It doesn't have to be fancy either, does it?
Mm-mm.
Doesn't
No.
have to be fancy. I mean, seriously, it could be a couple of pages in a document, and you just add to it as time goes on, because we don't prepare for hurricanes in Cincinnati, right? Well, the last time one blew through, it was the remnants of one, and it really knocked Cincinnati for a loop. Nashville, they probably don't prepare for snow emergencies, right? But one happens, and you add it to the plan because now that's going to start happening. So, Brian, you were talking about internet, right? And
Yeah.
something to do with internet. You want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I think most businesses, a lot of our clients have their primary internet service, and that's what they're fully dependent on for all their staff. But we've been in situations a couple of times in the last 12 to 16 months where that primary internet goes down. We don't have an option where my office is in this industrial park. We don't have the option for an affordable backup internet solution. So what we did, and what we have some clients doing, is we purchased a cellular backup plan. And that way that works is you get a piece of equipment, costs you a couple $100, and then you check with your carriers, see who's got the best service, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, whoever it is, AT&T, and you get a SIM card from that carrier, and you tell them you want a internet only plan. We're paying $50 a month, but in the event you lose that primary connection, again, it's not going to be as fast as what you have now, but it is certainly workable. You're not going to be streaming. I'm not going to be doing stuff like this on that. Not going to be doing any live streams or anything, but your business can function, and it's a small price to maintain that consistency when you have an outage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you mentioned speed. 5G is really changing that, right? And as it gets more widespread, I think it's definitely making a huge impact. Not only that, but a lot of firewalls now have the capability to have that technology built in.
Failover built into it, yeah, certainly.
Yeah. That Cradle Point is a great solution. Here's what you're not going to be able to do with it. Probably a lot of incoming VPN connections are probably not going to be possible. But can the most important people accomplish the jobs that they want to? I think so. So
I definitely would steer towards a cellular backup for the smaller businesses. We have clients, that have 2 fiber circuits coming in, right? Redundant. We have and we have them set up, but at one point they went down, and the likelihood of that is really not, but it happened, so then you need a tertiary at that point, but it's not an option. But I would say most small businesses, at least out here, a cellular backup is definitely an affordable and the most reasonable plan that's going to keep you guys in business.
Yeah, you got it. So yeah, good one there. And so then let's kind of touch about this kind of, in a way, may negate a little bit of the necessity of an internet backup, and that's considering cloud applications today, okay, versus on-premise technology. Vinny, what are your thoughts on going to the cloud, and what benefit does that give you in a catastrophe situation, or a riot or tornado, wildfire power, AC problem?
Yeah, so definitely it's a huge advantage. That's one of the biggest advantages of going to the cloud is which is high availability, right? It's not dependent on your electricity. It's not dependent on your internet. It's not dependent even on your building, right? There's a highly available system out there that the cloud computing vendors like AWS, Microsoft, Google, and all those guys. I mean, they built their systems to be highly available, and so and even software companies now have done the same thing as you think about in the legal side of practice management software or others that are out there, manufacturing software that is now in the cloud, right? ERPs are in the cloud, and so all these the advantage is that you doesn't depend on anything at your location to do that. And there's some caveats to that. Some vendors secure it so that you can only connect to them from your IP and such. And so you have to consider those things when you're planning, when you're making your plan. How do we get around that and such? But for the most part, the high availability of that is the key.
I think from a marketing standpoint, when we push cloud services, other than the savings on the internal infrastructure that you're not exposed to, I think that we do push it as, listen, it'll technically work from anywhere, and you're always up. Like that's the to get a buy-in from a client or a prospect. That's huge. But keep in mind, like with all the high availability, there was a Microsoft outage that dropped connections to Outlook, and then what, you have to identify the risks of each point of failure and say, if you got a 15-year-old firewall, we're going to tell you need to replace that. If everybody is dependent on Microsoft, then you have a better chance of Microsoft recovering than your own internal damages that you have.
and what's really funny is you talk about the single points of failure, Brian, and let's not kid ourselves. A cloud provider is a single point of failure.
Mhm.
Now they should be mitigating. Any cloud provider worth their weight in, in lead for that matter, would be mitigating single points of failure in their environment. But you should consider them as a single point of failure. And even a solution like a Mimecast that we use for our customers can be a fallback for your Microsoft 365 email. Microsoft 365 email goes down, no problem. Everything goes through Mimecast for security anyway. Now it is a failover, and you can send and receive through your Outlook, through your phones, just fine, without any outages, right?
You
Because
stole my thunder, Jim.
oh, you know I was going to, right?
Yeah, no, but that's what I was just about to get into that a little bit as well, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because there are ways that you can layer the cloud technologies to minimize even when they go down, right?
Yeah,
And it might not be everything, but you need to identify what those critical systems are, and if you want to implement some type of layered approach to it, so that if for example Microsoft goes down, and they have in the last year multiple
everybody
times,
has, everybody.
right? And they have been extensive outages. And so if they go down, what do you do? How do you work, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to implement another technology to help with that, and so on and so forth? So those are definite things to consider.
Yeah,
When
and that's a great point, Vinny, because we have clients that use an email continuity service, and
Mhm.
it again, that sounds like something that may be hard to get a little buy-in from clients. Well, no, we're in the cloud, everything's good. Well,
Yep.
no, when you can't get there, and you have some, you could be you could be financial, working on deals, investments, whatever it is, and you need to communicate. We're telling you that we can continue that dialogue with your clients or investors, whoever it is. Is that important to you? Or if you're down for the rest of the day, even though you're in the cloud, you checked some of the boxes, but yet that email continuity for an extra couple of dollars a month to be able to communicate is key. And
Yeah.
again, that's something to consider too, because that falls along these lines also.
You know, all of the things we're talking about and all of the contingencies and single points of failures, they start to be uncovered with that first thing we talked about, the plan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, what do we do if our email's down? What's the plan? Well,
Right.
how much do we want to spend to mitigate it? Again, can be very simple. So, okay, next topic. Let's talk about a communication protocol. This is mine. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this. My point is this: when snow hits in Cincinnati, okay, schools close, and all the parents know. Benny, don't even go there. Benny's a former New Yorker, by the way, and that's where Brian's at. So when we get snow in Cincinnati and we have to close schools, all the parents know this is where we go to find out if our schools are closed. They might get a text alert from the school. They might get an email from the school. They might even get a robocall from the school. But if nothing
Local
else,
news channel, something like that. Yeah.
they can go to television
Yep.
and they can tune into the television and they can see it on the TV. After the long list of other schools, your schools are closed or on a delay of some kind, right? That's a communication protocol that businesses don't necessarily adhere to. So how do we tell all of our employees, hey, it's 95 degrees in the office, HVAC is dead, don't come to the office? How do we tell them that? How do they know? So how do we save them drive time, right? And then continued communication. So what I would say is, in the plan, come up with a communication protocol that has multiple points of redundancy. Okay, we're going to text everybody, so we have to have a texting system. I like remind.com, by the way, for that. It's a great system. We need to have a robocall system. We need to have, Vinny, I think you said captains. You would talk about captains a little bit. I like that.
Yeah, so we had well, we call them incident commanders. Somebody else came up with that name, but they were basically captains. They said they were people who were coordinating the efforts during an incident, and they knew what needed to happen, who needed to be communicated to. They did regular fire drills to test it and make sure that they knew the process.
Yep. I think that's really important. That
We
way,
did
everyone
even the
knows.
old school. We have clients that have an old school call tray. They let's say texting is not available, whatever. Here's a call tree. You call these 5 people. Once you
Yeah.
execute that, test it, make sure it works, make sure that you have the right numbers, all that stuff.
But it's a communication protocol,
Sure.
and you have layers with it. So if we can't text, we'll go to, email. If we can't email, we'll go to, you call your supervisor will be called by or calling
Yeah.
somebody else, right?
On this topic, I got a call the other day from a robot that it's a robocall, right? But it was from my previous employer's service, and it said the HVAC is down. Don't come into the office.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
and it, that's the system that they employed and they use to be prepared for different types of events, and that was one of them. Right now, I don't work for them anymore, so I said, okay, please take me off this list. But that's the type of things that you can do to be prepared or to communicate.
Good idea. Guys, let's talk about phones, right? COVID hit, right? Everybody started scrambling. What do we do? How do we keep our phones ringing? A lot of these things came into play when COVID hit. I mean, that's a good example of a disaster, right? And we should be prepared for that better. We went through it. Now we need to be prepared for it for the next time. So, what about hosted phones versus on-premise phones, Brian? You muted.
Oh, no, I just didn't want Vinny to feel bad. I just wanted to. Well, again, on-prem, you have a failure on-prem. You potentially, even if you have an IP phone system, your phones you're not able to send or receive calls, right? So, but a lot of the hosted systems today with the PBX sitting in the cloud, you get a mobile app, and your presence is as if you were in the office. You can transfer extensions. You can have you can look and see who's on the phone, and that's really was widely used during COVID with everybody home and the routing of calls. It simplified the need to listen. We had clients giving out their cell numbers, and a lot of people don't want to do that. So the alternative to that is getting a mobile app that is your office number. And communicating that way, even though you're on your cell phone, you're dialing out from the office. It just keeps that office continuity going. So that's a huge benefit over having something on-prem. That nowadays, I mean, you can even do it on your laptop. You have an app on some people prefer that. They plug in a headset or Bluetooth right to their laptop, and that's their phone system. They don't even have a desk phone, even while in the office. I mean, that's a direction a lot of businesses are going to, and Teams is now integrating with that. So there's full collaboration across the board to keep that office presence. You doing it now?
You're muted, Jim.
Here, I've been laughing at you guys. Came up on the screen. Hey, you're muted, dummy. So, no, actually, Teams is one of the applications that take a step back, goes into that communication protocol potentially. That's our interoffice messaging application. It's not email, it's messaging, right? And you're right. I mean, it can be a phone system, and phone systems can integrate with it now. Mm-hmm. So, you look at us if your phone lines are down, your power's out at your office. If you've got a phone system at your office, you're dead. There's not going to be any inbound or outbound calls.
Well, to that matter, you can even use Teams as your phone system now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then you get a hosted phone solution, whether it's Teams or whether it's a unified communication solution. It's got a desk phone, got a app for your mobile phone, got a an app for the Mac or the Windows computer or Chromebooks or whatever, and it's like you just don't miss a beat. So another really good tip. Let's end on this, guys. Insurance. Should we be doing anything about insurance? I mean,
I think to a lot of these anything that when you have it could be a site disaster or natural disaster. Along with that comes insurance claims. Yeah. Right. So these insurance claims, what do they cover? Well, they're covering all my equipment. Well, we purchased, 6 new $2,500 ThinkBooks this year. Well, did you add them to your policy? No, but I'm covered. Well, no, you're not. Be careful, review, keep up with it. Again, it's you can't do it post. It needs to be done pre and included in your insurance. And that's, you don't want to get burned. You have the investment, and we know the insurance that we have to carry as business owners. Our error and omissions policies are on the rise because we can't be negligent with things, right? We have to do our jobs the right way. We pay the price to our insurance brokers, but we have to make sure that we're well versed, and everything that we do is covered and protected for our clients. But they need to protect themselves too.
Yeah, and it's, in the insurance side as well, making sure that you're meeting their requirements so that they will pay you.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you have enough coverage, but making sure you're doing the things that they say, okay, well, you were supposed to be doing this and you weren't, right? Or you should have been doing this. These are part of our requirements, and you weren't. And so, simple things like, do you have a plan, right? You mentioned earlier in the session, Brian, that, hey, if you don't have a plan, then the insurance might look at you and say, hey, we're not going to pay.
Yeah.
Right? You weren't prepared for this. You weren't doing anything on your part to be prepared for this.
Right.
And so making sure that you hit the check boxes from an insurance side too, or from their requirement side.
Yeah.
I'm going to add to this when it comes to insurance, these are legal documents. You should not just be listening to your insurance broker. You should have a qualified attorney review these documents, give them scenarios, talk about what's not covered. It's just that simple. There's so many little nuances, right? And when you need it, you don't want to find out then. You want to try to
Too
find
late.
out.
Yeah.
It's way too late. So, guys, I think we hit National Preparedness Month.
Hey, I want to just say one thing before we break. Somebody might ask, hey, what about backups, right?
Oh, we didn't say back. Oh, I got it on the list. I missed it. Sorry.
We did not. We did not talk about backups. We take that as a given, right?
Yeah.
It's so important. I think everyone knows that. I think everyone understands that. Having the right systems in place is important. Testing those systems, like Brian mentioned on the plans, right? It's just as important to test the backups and have regular, real life scenario type of tests in them. But backups are a huge part of this preparedness. We didn't focus on it today because we thought, this is just a given, right? But make sure you have the right system.
Absolutely.
You got it. Well, guys, I think since it is already September 1, maybe we're behind the gun on preparing for National Preparedness Month, right? Maybe this should have been a show for a couple weeks ago, but still, now the cat's out of the bag. Now you have some great information. Take these things. There's so much more. Again, we just wanted to give you a top 5, 6, 7 things to kind of help you along. So, Brian, Vinny, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jim.
If you have any questions after the stream, if you're watching the stream or catching the podcast later on, you got a question, you can find us on LinkedIn. Just a hashtag the reboot, and you'll find all of our posts and such. But if you have a question, hit it up in the comments of any one of these. All of us will see those comments, and any one of us can actually comment back and help you out. So, guys, thanks again. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, everyone.